Hey there. This week I just made some little gas pumps out of balsa wood and XPS foam to go with my diorama here. They are really nice little pieces to make. They're easy and they look really good. So I hope you get something out of this and I hope you enjoy the video. I printed out a couple of little pumps on some A4 paper so I could use them to just draw up templates without having to make any effort. And I'm also going to cut out the decals off them for the meter and for the little shell signs. I just draw them up on a bit of firm cardboard. And just cut them out, 2 of them, so there's one for the top and one for the bottom. Pin them down on my XPS foam. That's the thickness that I wanted to have it. I will be putting a balsa wood front on it, so I don't want it too thick. And I just use my hot wire cutter just to very roughly cut it out. It doesn't matter if it's too rough because I just use a bit of sandpaper to neaten everything up that I do anyway. Just nice and gently knock all the little rough bits off and shape it in any way that needs to be altered. And they come out pretty good this way. I'm going to use this again as a template so I can draw around the meter because I want to make a little recess to sit it in so it looks a little more three-dimensional. So I draw just around the outside. I don't want to get any of the pencil on the inside of it as I'm going to be using it as a decal. I just mark it up heavier so I know where I'm going with it. This stick that I cut to the right width just so I can make the impression. And that's it, ready to stain and paint. I just drop it in a black and brown acrylic wash. Let it soak up a bit and then just give them a drain. I sort of drain things that I let it run to the bottom so if it looks like dirt and grime and staining, the bottom's heavier so it looks more natural. And I'm going to trace around it again so I can make the wooden front. I used balsa wood because it just seemed like the right material for this. It's almost like foam, but foam would have been too fragile for me to cut out with a knife. Making that window, I know I would have broken it doing that. And that's the 2 pieces ready to go. I'll just give it a stain as well, the same as the foam. And then just the yellow and red paint that will go onto the 2 pieces. I ended up doing this with my hands because it just felt like a million years trying to paint it with a brush. I don't know. It just works better. But for me anyway. I just find that you get a really nice, quick, even coverage when you use your fingers and hands to paint. And because I want it to look old, it is a little inconsistent as well, and you don't get brush marks. So I don't know, fingers work really well. That or I'm just really lazy and I just can't be bothered using a brush. Look how quick that was. Record time. Wasn't even sped up. I'm just going to use some acrylic glue, water-based glue, not acrylic, water-based glue to glue down the decal. For anyone who doesn't know, don't use fuel-based glues or paint or anything on foam. It'll eat through it like acid. This glue dries crystal clear. It's really good stuff, so I'm not worried about that bit of mess I've made around it. It will disappear. And I made a little tiny plastic window out of just a little bit of plastic off an old picture frame or something, and I'm just going to make the window with that, and I can super glue it because it's not foam, so it's all good. I realised I glued the decal on upside down after I'd done the second one, but I always print out spares and make spares of everything, so I just got another one and cut it out and glued it on top around the right way. And that's those two pieces painted, ready to start doing some details. I made these little pieces out of polymer clay. They're just like a little handle and the nozzle and the hoses and these little like buttons. I just got a ball of polymer clay and pressed it down with the end of a texter, just so it would be the size that I would want for that decal to sit on. Super basic stuff. I'll put them all together kind of like these little model pieces when I'm ready. And once again, painting with my fingers because it's just, I don't know, it works. Just going to glue the decals down on these as well. They come out really dark. Once that red dried, it's almost taken on a brown kind of hue, but it works well, it looks good. That's the pieces ready to assemble now. Really is as quick as it looks doing these. I'm going to just draw in some detail, the lines to go in the top, or it'd be just, I don't know, part of the housing where it comes away. But sometimes it's better to draw in detail than try and build detail. It just helps with miniaturization. And now I'm just going to do some brown directly underneath the black line, not over it, because that black line is now the joining line and the darkest part of shadow where it would come from. So the brown beneath it will be pulling down and getting lighter and dissipating as it goes away from the source of where it's come. It's kind of just dirt and rust and what have you. And as you can see, it's very quick and easy to do, and it's easier than building housing and putting it on and trying to make an actual three-dimensional object in a miniature form. Just going to start lightening that rust up too. I might as well do that extra bit. It is the fun job doing this kind of detail. I really enjoy it. I just lighten it up a couple of times. I do find with foam, because I don't prime it, paint will soak into it, and I often have to do it a couple of times. But I like the way it soaks in it. It just gives it a certain look, and anything you want to make look aged, if you use foam without priming it, you will immediately get that effect. You don't have to work at it. That looks good. More decals. I just loved that I could use that one printout and then do everything with it. It just made such an easy job of this. Just going to keep them lined up and hopefully they'll be around the same height. I just drew another little set of lines, just silver and black, to make it look like a recess where the nozzle goes in, pierced a hole with a toothpick, and then I glued the nozzle in. I had to do this all separately because I can't put super glue on the foam, and I have to try and get things to adhere a certain way. So at the bottom of the hose I used the acrylic, or the water-based glue, and same with the top, and then I sort of put everything together with super glue so it was a quick bond. And that little handle, it's just a pin with a couple of balls of polymer clay either end. The handle and the nozzle, I think I should have painted them silver, but it's not too late, I can still do that. Made a hole in the top for my signs. I just super glued pins to them as well, and I will glue them down properly with the water-based glue so they are doubly strong and will not come away. I'll glue them down into the piece of concrete that I made out of foam. I just cut it with a ruler. Well, I used a hot wire. I just laid a ruler on it because it's the right width, and it had corners that I liked, and I thought, yeah, it looks about right. So I just attacked that with a hot wire and it came out exactly how I wanted it, and also gave that a nice soak. And then I attacked it with my lump of concrete, and I don't know why I did that, because I should have done it before I stained it, but it's not the end of the world. This concrete is really good because it's just every little part of it is unique, so you don't make patterns when you're trying to rough something up. Just want to make it nice and pitted and a little broken looking, and just give it a semi-dry brush with an ugly looking green grey. It's the one I used actually on the building that I did in the last video. Then I ended up using my hands again for this too. You can see the difference that hands make compared to a brush. See how it doesn't go into all the tiny little recesses? It just sits perfectly above it, and it's really quick. And then I just gave it a dry brush of this sort of a cream colour. It's a flesh colour, I don't know what it is, but it's not white, and that's the main thing. I avoid using white on everything. It's just so stark, very unnatural. It's another nice quick little easy part to make for this one. That's the two pumps put down. They look a bit wonky because they're not glued yet, but I wanted to show you them without the dirt and the staining put on them, so you can see how they look sort of semi-clean. They look nice, they really do, but those decals are sort of free-floating and they're not really connected to anything, and I like to dirty them up a little bit and just pull everything back together into one piece. This wash is extremely watered down because even I have to test it. If you're not used to doing this, you need to be very cautious. Once it hits that paper, it will not come off, it will stay there, and it'll stain terribly if it's too dark. So just really put half a drop into some water and then just test it, and then just darken it a little more and get it to the right darkness that you want. As you can see, it's too light, but I would rather that than too dark because I cannot undo it once it's done. What I'm doing is not just making it dirty and connecting everything, but I'm knocking back that stark white colour of the paper because it looks unnatural, especially on something that's meant to be old. Just pull it up from the bottom, make it look like it's been sitting around for a long time, and then I can connect the decal to that grime that's going down the lower part. As you can see, it's sort of pulling it back into the actual body of the pump. It stops it looking like it's just floating there, or just literally stuck on the front of it, because you don't want it to look that way. Or maybe you do. It's up to you, but I would prefer it to look a bit old and connected. And once it dries, it'll settle down a little bit too. I just do this all the way around. And you will find, if you're not used to doing this again too, it will lighten, as I mentioned before, and you might have to do it 3 or 4 times with this very light wash. And just let it build up and get a feel for it. Bit of very soft black pencil to make even more of the grime on the bottom of it. They don't work very well on the foam, these pencils, unless it's been primed, but they work well on the wood. And that's the difference between the two, one dirty, one clean. And then I'm going to connect them. They're glued down 100% dry. If your glue is not dry, this wash will make them fall off. It will unset the glue. It'll just sort of make it all runny and everything will fall apart. So make sure it's very dry before you do this step. Just up the little posts, and everywhere I just want everything to be connected. Where build up would build up over time around the bottom of pretty much every object. I haven't done it around those tyres, they're not glued down because they're just for the video. But that's these little pumps. They are really easy and they look great. I really like them a lot. So I hope you got something out of this, and I hope to see you next time.